Diving deep, stay in the grays, our creek balance. Thoughts split the sea, no extreme. In a world of black and white, we seek to blend. Understand both sides, let the truth transcend. Stay in the gray, where perspectives intertwine. We seek the truth in the gray we define. In this podcast journey, minds open wide. Shades the truth on this impartial ride. A long time ago we started stumbling. Feels like this country's crumbling. The government is fumbling. A Congress that is bumbling. Both sides are always arguing. They all could use some humbling. And stop the world from tumbling. Rebuild the trust is plummeting. If ideas would start bubbling, our efforts could be doubling. And chaos would start slumbering. And people resume huddling. And talk about the trouble and concerns we're always juggling. Cooperate while snuggling. And quit the useless struggling.
I can't think of a clever way to come in tonight, Trey. How about you?
No. There's been some interesting shit happening the past few days.
Goodness gracious. Don't you worry, Stay in the Gray podcast fans. We will get there. But first, most importantly, in North Carolina, Trey,
That's not where it happened. Okay, go ahead.
It could be a Florida, but this is not. This is North Carolina. Oh, wait, you're saying that's
not the big...
I get it. Okay, right.
Come on, stay with me.
I know. Apparently, there have been multiple alligator sightings in North Carolina, that's a little bit unusual.
Yeah.
In the span of a week in the same town. And they're just in the town. One of them, a person came out of a store and the alligator head was just sticking out from underneath the car. Just
Holy
sitting there looking at her, and she didn't get in her car because it was at the driver's side. Excuse me. She called authorities, and they fortunately put it back into the wild. They didn't kill it, thank goodness. The second one was spotted in a police station, in a vacant police parking spot, like it was just chilling, like sunbathing, and it was over 8 feet.
That's a big boy.
The only reason I told you this, people, is if you're in that area, in the East Coast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, the police chief says the following: if you approach, or if you see an alligator nest, do not approach it.
An alligator nest.
Do not approach it.
That's scary compared to just an alligator. Like
well,
a
I would
nest
think
of alligators.
Nest,
How many alligators constitutes an alligator nest?
All I know is if there's an alligator anything, the fact that he has to say don't approach it is what I'm laughing at.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I can't imagine there's a bunch of like a little bitty alligator is going to be that much of a threat.
No.
Right?
I wouldn't try it, though.
But Mama Alligator...
Mama is going to be around, yeah.
She's not messing around.
Has there been a lot of storms down there, or over there, I should say?
I don't know.
The reason I say that is because there's one been spotted in our neck of the woods in Coppell, in one of the lakes in Coppell.
Wait, no one told me this. There's an
didn't see that?
alligator in our area?
They found one in Coppell. But they were saying a lot of the storms that blew through from, was it Beryl or...
Beryl, whatever the name of the hurricane was.
Has washed...
But how does the alligator...
I don't know how the hell it got to
lots of
Coppell.
land between Houston and here.
Unless it got in the twister. I don't know if that's real.
Dropped it.
Drops into the Coppell Lake. I mean, it's science.
Well, look, people... I'm not getting in the water after all my stories.
At all.
And now I'm definitely not getting in the water. So look.
Or not in my car even, I'm not getting.
There you go. The whole point, look under your car every time.
Right.
The whole point of this story, if you see an alligator, don't approach it.
Don't.
That's the point.
No.
That's all you need to know, people. The second story is something I'm not going to laugh about. It's just so outlandish that you need to hear it, because there are people like this, and I'm going to ask you a serious question after this. It's Houston, Texas. So we just said Houston. I don't know if the hurricane
washed up some other stuff down there.
This guy, again, this is just news. We're doing news real fast before we get to our main topics tonight, so I'm not going to go too in depth. But there's a restaurant employee in Houston who's accused of sticking his penis onto open food items before they go out for people to eat.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
how did they catch this?
Well,
cameras or just some random person looking up?
I mean, it was a kind of an obvious thing. He wasn't trying to hide it. And so this guy's name is Othello.
Makes sense.
Lorenzo Holmes. And he's been charged with 5 counts of different things, and I'll tell you what they are.
Sweet.
Because they got a hold of his phone, and there are over 100 child pornography videos.
No.
And on there, it's like him putting his genitals in jelly, saying he had an urge but then he had to stop himself,
Wow.
because the children were around. He wished he could. There are texts to young teens that are like, I wish that I had access to children, and the teen would play along and go, me too. I mean, he's disgusting, dude. This guy.
Where's this one from again?
Houston.
Oh, of course. God.
According to investigators, extracted 100 images and 5 videos of child pornography. The videos contain children between the ages of infancy
Oh, that's
and
disgusting.
teens engaged in sexual intercourse and various sexual acts. Records show an image was also found showing a chat on a Telegram, blah, 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 between him and another person with the username Princess in the room called Devil's Lair. This is fucked up. And so we're not going to go any really further. I mean, he said, super pervy yesterday. I wish I had access to kids. And the princess said, I wish you did too. Cry face emoji. I mean, this is creepy.
This is
creepy.
weird shit.
And so all that you need to know is that he is being charged. And he said, I have a problem. I need help.
You think.
So at least he's aware of it.
But the whole initial part where he got caught was him putting
Yeah. So he puts his dick on some food. And then all of a sudden,
somebody caught him.
well, they caught him doing it, and so they arrested him on those counts. And then once they got his phone, they found all this stuff. So my question is, this guy is obviously not good for society. What do you do? I mean, do you just lock him away? I know you're a fan of the let's put him in jail for a while.
Well, I tell you what, these child predators in jail, they get the shit.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's justice right there.
See, I just want this guy gone, and I get it. I think maybe in this case with the child predators, I'm with you.
Because they take it seriously in jail. When they find out they're a child predator, they will destroy somebody.
But I mean, what's up with this dude? I mean, you obviously look at upbringing, mental health, and all these things, and I don't know why I wanted to tell this story. I just am baffled by humanity at some point.
Yeah.
And you and I talk, and we'll talk in a little bit here about left and right and hate and this and blame and all these things, but this is out there still, and we can't forget about that either.
Yeah, I'll never understand the infatuation an adult with a child. That just makes no sense, So,
well, and like he said, he needs help. Go get it. I mean,
before you do all this stuff,
when you
realize
stuff,
you need help,
I mean,
let's go get it before this.
Yeah, I mean, lastly, the restaurant was very proactive in their anti.
You think?
They came out and they were just like, we want to make it clear we are cooperative with law enforcement on this issue.
Yeah, no shit.
Good for them. So anyway, that's that. This guy's really messed up, and
I'm sending my food back too.
Yeah, don't tell me you won't think the next time you're at a restaurant like.
Make sure Lorenzo's not back
I
there.
wonder if or anybody putting there just.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The next story tonight is this will be a more lighthearted tray, and I think you and I will be disappointed we were not a part of this.
Oh.
There is and I'm not going to give you all the details because we don't do that here.
Yeah.
There is a princess. Wasn't the name of the child princess? Okay,
Yeah.
Let's forget about that part. Princess Cruise Line.
Okay.
Okay. Coordinated a fleet of love boats. I guess that's cruise ships.
Interesting.
For the last story.
I don't know if I want to be part of this.
Hold on. To break the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest pizza party at multiple venues.
Now I want to be part of this.
The cruise line teamed up with Chef Tony Gimignani. Gimignani.
Say it again. Gimignani.
Gimignani of Tony's Pizza. That Tony, I like Tony. That's easy. Tony's Pizza.
Just Tony.
Wait, hold on. Napolitana in San Francisco to
You're
provide.
just making up words now.
I love how I did San Francisco too. I'm like, San Francisco. To provide pizzas across the Princess Fleet for the record attempt. A Guinness Book of World Records how about adjudicator?
I like that word.
There you go. Confirmed more than 60,000 slices were served across
Damn.
the cruise line at the same time, successfully setting the record for the world's largest party. The food service team at Princess said the record attempt required 6,500 pounds of dough, 3,500 pounds of flour, 1,400 pounds of pepperoni, and 2,300 pounds of cheese.
God damn.
It's a lot of pounds of pizza material. So I just thought that was
People that are going to be stopped up too.
I just figured people wanted to know. The record's been set. I wish I was there.
And we were not part of it.
We were not a part of it. I thought we would be
That's
invited.
not cool.
No. Lastly, before we move on, it's not just men that are stupid when they fight and get mad, ladies and gentlemen. It is there are two women. On July 2nd, Deputy Devin Blair and 3 other deputies responded about 3:30 p.m. to a fight between 2 women
Okay.
at a gynecology office waiting room.
Wow.
A 33-year-old woman reported she was with her 3 children when a 51-year-old sitting nearby began tapping her fingers too loudly. I kid you not. I can't make this up. This upset one of the children. So therefore her mother said, someone's going to cuss you out if you don't stop. And the woman went louder.
She said, someone's going to cuss you out
if you don't stop. So that's not kind of like a threat, right?
Yeah. I would have gone louder.
You would have been the other one.
Yeah.
So the woman that was tapping responded by challenging the woman to step outside.
There you go.
As they were entering the exit door, so that she agreed. Like,
Let's roll.
the woman turned and just punched her. She didn't wait. So that's
51-year-old or the other
yeah,
one?
no, the one that let her out. That's kind of cheap.
Yeah, that's a cheap shot.
Cheap shot. The other woman then grabbed her by the throat and shirt,
God damn.
causing the other to push her back into the waiting room. Facility employees separated the women eventually, but
Did they get checked out afterwards?
the cop, yeah, in the same room, they're like, we're good.
Put you in
The
stirrups?
cops that showed up, they ended up deciding that the 51-year-old was the started it. I don't know how they got there, but that's what I see. The one that was
Where
the one that was tapping her fingers.
Did you say where it was at? Florida?
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, close to Florida.
Yeah, close to Florida. But the woman that tapped her fingers,
How's that the one that
I don't know. You seem to align with her.
I would have? Yeah. Just because.
But somehow, I think it was because she punched as they were walking outside. She
Okay, not
threw
the
first
finger
punch.
tapping, but that first punch. Got
But
it.
what if they had gone out?
Did she have the kids stay in like a little nursery area to keep her?
Yeah, can you guys?
Or were the
sit in
kids jumping
fence?
on the other lady too?
Can you see kids on there
Yeah.
fighting and stuff? No, that was it, and it just sounded funny to me. That's why I wanted to share.
Yeah, that
it.
is pretty funny.
2 women in a gynecologist's office waiting room.
They were both tense about getting in the stirrups, huh?
Duking it out. There must have been some issues. Men aren't the only stupid ones. We're the majority stupid ones. But when it comes to fighting, I just kind of wanted to see it. I wish I was there.
I'm trying to think, where would a funny place for a men's fight, if that's at a gynecology office, like
I
getting
can't
a
even-
prostate exam or
I would think the locker room while naked.
nah, because I've
No?
seen that before.
Oh,
Not while naked though.
Okay, take it easy over there, Trey.
Well, anyway, I was trying to think of something funny. I was trying to think of that process where they stick a camera up your butt to check things out.
Colonoscopy.
There we go. If you're sitting in a waiting room to get a colonoscopy,
Maybe you're tense. Your emotions are running high.
or you're about to get a circumcision.
Ooh, well,
No, not
That's rare.
circumcised.
That's
I'm sorry.
a vasectomy.
Vasectomy. Not a circumcision.
Well, I tell you what,
Vasectomy.
if there are 2 grown men waiting to get a circumcision, there may be
They're probably pretty tense. Yeah.
some tense.
Gotcha.
There you go. There's the news for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
The funny news.
Well, now we'll go to I guess lesser news in our world, and everybody knows where we're going. Former President Donald Trump was shot in the ear in what is being called an attempted assassination.
When was that?
That did you know this happened? It happened a couple of days ago. Usually we're a couple weeks behind, ladies and gentlemen, but today
We got this.
we're on it just a couple days later. He was shot in the ear, and there's so much to this that I don't even know where to start. I know you've got so many opinions on it. We went off before the show, and we're like, wait a second, let's just maybe save some of this. To start, let's just give the basics, and then I'm going to let you roll because you've got. I see it in your eyes. And when I see it
We'll see what the basics say.
when I see it in your eyes, I'm going to let you go because I don't usually stop. So you better take advantage of that opportunity. The shooter who got part of Trump's ear, his name was Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's 20 years old. Most people know this, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. So
he was 20 years old.
He was 20 years old. He will not reach 21, at least on this plane of existence. Mm-hmm. He purchased, the gun was, of course, a AR-15, which has caused a whole other thing. I
was curious, was it his weapon or was it a family member?
Apparently, it was his dad's.
His dad's, okay.
And he bought it legally. So, but he went and bought 50 rounds of ammo that day. I don't know what he thought he was going to get. I don't know if he thought he was going to get through 50 around. But the motive still, they've got his phone and they haven't released any of that yet. And they're trying to figure out what this motive was. And we'll get there. But
nothing on social media or anything that you've heard of?
A couple things, but we'll get there. But it's all hearsay and it's all blaming. Again, here we go.
Let's blame somebody.
A big incident happened. Let's. The conspiracy theories, Trey, which I know you enjoy. Oh my God, on both sides, stupid. But real quick, I think it's very important, and I can't pronounce his last name, and I'm so sorry because this is one name I wish I could get correct. There's a man named Corey Comparatori. He was 50. He was the man that died.
The former fire chief, right?
Fire chief, and he threw himself in front of his wife and his daughter.
I heard about that, yeah.
And he died. And to me, that's being forgotten.
Yeah.
And as a father and a husband, you've been a husband a couple times.
Yeah.
You have plenty of nephews and nieces, and you are great with my children. You don't need to have them to understand how
absolutely
how brave that was, and how much that just shows the love you have for your family.
Right.
So I don't even know what to say about him, but he needed a moment of our time.
Right.
Back to Donald. So real quick before we get into it, he had some quotes that were really interesting after it was all done. He said, "I just wanted to keep speaking after that happened when they were pulling me away."
So he wanted to stay up on the podium.
But I had just got shot, so I thought I'd better leave. It's such a Donald thing to say. It's
right, yeah.
The other one that was funny is he's always about the best. He's got to be the best. And I'm not laughing. Donald, you are okay now. So I'm able to laugh at you a little bit. No one at the trauma center that I went to said they had ever seen someone survive an AR-15 that had hit them. Only me. Is that so Donald, right?
It's very much a Donald comment, yeah.
And I don't mind it because it's funny. The next day he golfed. His opposition were, "Oh, you can golf." And last I checked, Trey, we golf. We try. We're pretty good for amateurs. And you don't, if part of your ear's missing, you can still swing a club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did seem a little bit odd that my life.
But what if it was hard to get a tee time at this place?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it was important. So I don't know about all that, but that's not. What if that's his way of going and just kind of decompressing, being and I know that I'm a golfer and I love it, and if I could do it every day, I would. So
here's the only thing I'd be worried about is how hard it would be to protect him on a golf course if somebody.
No shit, right?
This idiot seems like this was not a serious attempt. This was a jacked up kid with some jacked up ideals, I'm assuming, and he went after this opportunity. Is the way I'm assuming. He didn't seem like this was very coordinated.
But what if it was in the woods of the golf course?
Exactly.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like, why would the Secret Service allow this to happen? I'm curious. Although, how do you keep Donald Trump from doing whatever the fuck he wants to do?
True.
If he wants to go play golf. But anyway.
Well, real fast, and then we can get into the kind of the heart of this whole thing is he showed up. He said he was going to delay. They're doing the Republican National Convention right now in Milwaukee. In fact, he'll be speaking Thursday night. And he said that he threw out his entire speech, and he's going to do a whole new speech because of its effect, how this has affected him. Mm-hmm. He's going to really try and unite the country more and be more whatever. So this may be maybe are we going to see a new Donald? And that's what's interesting. When you saw him yesterday, I only saw a picture and maybe a quick clip, and he looked, and I don't blame him. I mean, you're.
So I'm going to be a little cynical here.
All right.
After him seeing all this stuff that's been going on since he's been president and all the crazy rhetoric and everything like that, why wouldn't he try to do this before there was an assassination attempt on him?
You mean unite?
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe that he really thinks that he's not uniting people. I think he understands that this country's divisive. He said that. He goes, this country's divisive. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but that's a goal, and somehow we've got to figure it out, kind of thing. He's still going to push his policy, and that's the problem. Is everybody wants to say that his policy is this or that or that, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, we shouldn't be divided just because people vote for somebody who's going to push policy. People, Donald, I was going to save it for later, but I'll say it again. A lot of people know this quote, this cliched passage. Many of the generals in the army, in the military, many of coaches in the most successful sports teams in history have not been nice people, have not been people that everybody loves, have not been your friend, but they're fantastic leaders. And I'm hoping that that's what we get with Donald when he's reelected, when he's elected in November. So that's kind of what I had. I just wanted to give you the basics. So the kid goes up, he scales the wall. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. He scales the side of the building. Did you see the interview with the guy that said, "Hey, I saw him doing this"?
Yes, that was crazy.
Tell me.
Well, I'm just outside the perimeter, quote unquote, the perimeter. They were saying that why was this not covered? And they said, well, it was technically outside the perimeter. And they were like, well, if you're within 140 yards from where Donald was, they said from the top of that roof, how's that not within the perimeter?
Right. So those guns can go for way further than 140 yards.
And so, you read about conspiracy and stuff. It's like, how was that building not covered? Why didn't we not have somebody up? You've got people screaming at authorities saying, like, hey, there's somebody climbing up a building. Why are we not pulling his ass down? How is this person scaling a building with a rifle on?
Yeah, the guy said, I can see the rifle.
Yeah, it's not, he wasn't carrying a pistol in his pants that nobody could see. Yeah. I mean, he has a fucking rifle. So yeah, how did he able to scale a building, lay down, point, aim,
right,
and fire? And how many shots did he get off?
5.
He had 5 shots.
Yeah.
Before the sniper killed him.
Yep. And one of the pictures in the videos that's kind of freaky in that regard was that the Secret Service that ended up shooting him, that was above Donald to his right, stage left, right, whatever that is. It looked like he was already aimed at him.
Yes.
So of course everybody's going, oh, it's staged. See, he knew. He waited and he waited and let him shoot, and then he fired. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he was just aimed out there and it just looked like it was aimed at him.
Well, somebody said there's different rules of engagement, and they said they weren't sure, but they felt like, and maybe something's come out for sure, that Secret Service cannot fire upon somebody until they shoot first.
What if he would just climb to see it, get a better view?
But you have a rifle on you, so
you're saying that they should have been able to see that. The sniper
should have been able to see that. I mean, he can see that from that point of view. But there was a whole bunch of back and forth. It's like the sniper saw him. Why didn't he take him out? Obviously, that's imminent danger right there. What is he doing up there with a rifle? Why are we sitting there waiting for him to fire?
I didn't know there was a code that required a shot to be fired first. If that's true, then there you go. He's waiting, and as soon as it was fired, but the guy got 5 shots off.
Yeah. Before the sniper got him.
So that was the one thing, was that people were, I mean, I see videos and people are like, hello. And the guy's going up. And second off, the one of the conspiracies from his opposition, I hate to keep saying the left, but it is the left, his opposition, was saying that it wasn't actually the bullet that hit his ear. It was part of the teleprompters.
That's what I heard initially too.
That was debunked, by the way.
That's
What I read was that both teleprompters were fine. That there was nothing that was damaged there. But what were the chances that when they really saying that a piece flew off and hit just perfectly on his ear?
So I'm curious then, if the bullet caught him in the ear, did it hit somebody behind him? Did they say, or did it just hit the ground?
Maybe that was one of the injuries. Well, I don't think it would hit the ground. The way his ear is there's just a piece of it that's off. So anybody that wants to say, and I've had a lot of people, and maybe Butthurt Comments tonight. We'll just do a broad Butthurt Comments because they're all the same when it comes to this. People are like, well, if it was really an AR-15, it would do a lot more damage. Well, no, not if it goes by and just the side of it hits you.
Have you seen the photo where the bullet is behind him?
Yeah.
That was wild. What I was kind of crazy, it was kind of weird to see, is that when you heard the shots, it was like you hear pop, pop, pop.
Right.
There was people standing up.
Yeah.
You saw people get down, but then, there's guys,
Did you notice it was mostly all the women, which is a good thing. I mean, that kind of had the instinct
to get down.
Yes. A lot of the guys were kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Ready to kind of.
It was like, is this real?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could see the look. I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying this, but you could see kind of a couple guys. I tried to look at a couple of them, and they were just like, it's like they didn't want to believe it was really happening.
And some people said that they thought it was fireworks going off initially.
Yeah.
So, which I can understand that too.
Sure.
So, it was a wild scene.
It was a wild scene. But this guy, there's been so much that's been said about him from both sides, and so everybody's trying to kind of pin it on the other side.
Well, it's almost like they're trying to justify the reasoning behind him shooting. Right. Like he was bullied. Okay, well, I get it. People get bullied, but I don't go buy a gun and start shooting into a crowd and trying to assassinate the president.
Well, and it's the same topic for any shooting, right? The bully, that doesn't give you the right to go whatever. Right? I mean, that's what you're essentially saying.
Yeah.
So the issue with this guy is that the left side saying that he was a registered Republican when he was 18 in 2021, which was 2.5 years ago. Just because you're registered one way doesn't mean anything. And why would he shoot his candidate? It just didn't make any sense to me.
So, silly question. If you register one way, does that mean you can't vote?
No.
A different way? Okay,
no, of course not.
All right. So,
as I've said many times, I'm registered independent. I haven't voted independent since Ross Perot.
Gotcha.
And that was like my first election. And because I've understood that independence, just until the bipartisanism goes away, you're not going to have an independent candidate like our Kennedy Jr. is finding out.
Right.
And so this kid, that's what he's registered Republican. Well, what's your angle here? What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah.
So he wanted to shoot his own candidate. He's a Republican who just didn't like Trump. Okay.
But to that extent.
To that extent. He had Trump signs in his yard. Well, no, he lived with his parents who were very, very much Democrats. There were no Trump signs in the yard. What are you trying to do? And that's the left. They even went as far, Trey, as to say that Donald staged this himself. And I think I mentioned earlier that I just started thinking about that and this idea of a conversation that would be had with this kid. Have a seat, son. This is what's going to happen. You're going to go up to the building. No one's going to give you any hard time. You're going to go up there. People may see you, but ignore that. And you're going to fire a shot. And right when I turn, and you're going to just only get my ear, though.
Right.
And then we're going to blow your head off.
We're going to kill you. Yeah, it's a suicide mission.
Sure, right after that.
You're only 20 years old, I know,
but it's good for the cause. It'll make Donald look good. That's what people are literally claiming this, Trey, and it's unbelievable to me to think.
I did find a little story about I did find a little story about this being a fake assassination attempt, and they,
from Donald.
The main concern, and the first topic obviously is how come the Secret Service did not secure the most obvious place for the sniper, which that's a great question. And I'm sure they're going to figure this out, and I'm sure somebody's going to get fired over this.
But both sides are wondering this.
It's crazy. Yeah, because anyway,
Donald staged it. They didn't take him out. Well, the other side's going, well, maybe they didn't take him out because the Democrats staged it.
now this is another piece of it that I've heard and even heard on the news as far as why did the Secret Service not completely cover him up and get him the fuck out of there
Immediately, right. You see,
I mean, he's fighting to get his hand up,
yeah.
you know, and that's Donald. I get it, but there was a couple of Secret Service people they had on the news at some point saying, you know, if you go back and look at Reagan's, they completely covered
quickly,
him up,
yeah.
and he was in a car, gone. You know, he didn't have a chance to say anything, do anything,
Yeah.
whatever. How come they didn't cover his ass up completely, get him the fuck out, and go?
I wish I could answer. It's a great question. That's you want to blame the Secret Service agents and say, all right, if this happens again, you need to do it differently. There was one of them, and unfortunately, for a whole different issue, it was a woman. So of course everybody's on her. Women shouldn't do it. Okay, come on. This particular woman was a little slower and a little bit not quite sure what to do. You could see it.
Oh, in the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she kind of didn't cover him, and she ducked a little bit, and it was almost like she wasn't quite, willing to give all.
Well, and I can imagine this kind of scenario is crazy, hectic. What do you do? But I would think these people are trained for something like this.
But still, until you're in it, we talk about that with police officers. Until you're in it,
You don't know how you're going to react.
you don't know how you're going to react. And maybe this group reacted differently than when they did with Reagan.
Yeah.
I think that a president like Donald all of a sudden going, wait, and putting his fist up, and it was just his head and his fist. Maybe enough of them were like, okay, what's he doing? Let's just, okay. And there was that couple of seconds of, do we overpower him here and like tackle him, basically, which is what they would have had to do. And then, of course, when they went to the car, they had him pretty shielded from what it looked like to me. And then, of course, right before he gets in, he had to give one more, which is Donald. I'm not going to lie. I mean, but at the same time, man, unless something is really messed up in this world and he did stage it, to be shot like that and still be as passionate, as resilient. I've said it before. I said it on a video I released. There's something about that to me, it fills you with emotion. And lefties and whoever can come at me all you want, but that picture is going to be iconic. It is that when he bloodied face raising his fist
With the American flag in the
with
back.
the American flag in the background.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And unless something comes out that has 100% proof that this was, like I said, I don't want to be that conspiracy guy, but we have to be at this point in the world, which is sad. But if for some reason it comes out and he had anything, I'm off his bandwagon. I mean, that's absurd. Where I won't vote.
Well, especially since somebody lost their life in this.
Well, yeah, and that's why to me it seems so absolutely absurd, because I don't believe Donald's as bad as what people say he is. I just don't.
Why is there not more questions around the Secret Service? That allowing this kid to get up there, them not pulling him out and getting him out of there quickly. As you said, one of them seemed like they were a little hesitant on where they needed to go, what they needed to do. Why is there not more questions around that? Who puts the Secret Service together? Is it a Republican person that puts the Secret Service? Is it a Democrat that put? I don't know this. So, who's in charge of the Secret Service?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's its own entity, its own organization. I think.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure who it is, and I mean, is there a chance they were kind of like, all right, we don't really like Donald, like whatever? I don't think so. I think there have been Secret Service agents there that day that spoke out and said, look, no one come at us with anything about politics. It has nothing to do with his politics. We signed up to do a job, and this is our job. But at the same time, if you don't like the guy, it's hard to take a bullet for him.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that's
You're a little bit slower to respond.
A little bit slower.
Well, they said they also tried to use local cops and stuff like that too. But they said the area was very small already. Mm-hmm. So did they not have enough cops to use? But you would think you find cops when the president is in town.
Butler, Pennsylvania, which I spent some time in Pittsburgh. I lived in Pittsburgh for a while, and Butler is just north, I believe, like an hour. I want to say Pittsburghers. Correct me, Yinzers. You like to be called. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was there. So it was a small area. Mm-hmm. And in fact, this kid that shot him, was a Pittsburgh kid, and he was going to go to he was currently at Allegheny Community College, which is Pittsburgh. He was going to go to Robert Morris, which is Pittsburgh. And the kid, it sounded like he had a pretty good future lined up. And so it's crazy what happened.
What snapped in him?
That's why it's it just kills me, to no pun intended, to like, what was this? What happened? Again, both sides, Trey, both sides are literally trying to scramble to figure out how to blame the other. It's easier for the right side to say the Democrats set this up because they've tried to, I'm going to say it, they've tried to silence him in every way possible since he became a politician, right? They've called him everything under the book. They've called him Hitler. They've called him fascist, the racist, everything. I can debunk most of that, if not all of it, that he's not those things. But the more you say it, the more that people hear it, the more that people don't like him. All of a sudden you go, how many times have people had a talk in a game, what would you do if you could go back in time? I'd go back and kill Hitler. And there are videos out there on TikTok and other platforms where people, not after this, but before this, weeks ago, just a couple weeks ago, saying, take him out. He's the next Hitler. Take him out. Well, when you start comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler, which is bullshit.
There's going to be somebody.
You don't have to like the guy, but this is so stupid. Somebody might take it too seriously, especially a 20-year-old kid.
But think about it on the Democratic side, okay? You talk it into existence. This kid thinks, okay, I'm doing it for, let's say, you know what? Fuck the Republicans. I'm doing it for the Democrats now. If the Democrats are constantly pushing, they had to know, one, if the kid does kill him, what kind of uprising from these Trump supporters would that have brought, for one?
If Trump had died.
Because there's going to be the crazy, fanatic, Trump lovers out there that's going to go ape shit, And two, he didn't succeed, and that's almost made him a cult hero now. So that's fucked over the Democrats even more. So how did they not think about this?
It's the worst thing that could happen for the Democrats, and I can't believe we're talking about this in a political way when you're talking about somebody's life trying to be taken, regardless of whether it's Donald Trump or somebody you don't like. The conversation would be a lot different if Taylor Swift was tried to be. Taylor, I hope no one tries to take her down. We love our Tay-Tay.
Yeah.
But if somebody else was being this is Donald Trump, so all of a sudden it becomes divisive again. I just feel like you're right. He does have, I don't want to use the word cult, but...
Is that the wrong word to use?
No, I do. No, sadly it's not. And I think there are people out there that, look, I don't mind the guy like a lot of people do. We've talked about this. I'm going to vote for him because of his policy. I'm going to vote for him because so he's sarcastic. So are we. So he says what's on his mind. I do too. Could he handle things different? And did he do some issue, the Stormy McDaniels thing and the adultery? If he did any of that, I don't approve of that. But that's him. That's his life. And so for me, it's I'm sitting here going, to answer your question, by the way, to get to it the long way. There would be an uprising, Trey. If he had died and it was proven that it was something staged by the Democrats, or even not, because there's always conspiracy theories out there. Even not, and we put somebody in, or the Republican Party put somebody in, and they lose, and it just becomes a big whatever. I mean, I think you're close to something that's pretty chaotic.
Very.
Yeah, that's a good point. Imagine that. But
so I'm just saying, if the Democrats were constantly pushing for this, they had to have known something bad would have happened.
Well, I don't think they think that far ahead. I think they just want him gone. I think they tried to put him in. That's what I was saying. They tried to put him in prison. They with his bogus, 34 count. That whole thing is so bogus. It's just ridiculous. In fact, There's been rumors that Biden's not going to charge him for the other stuff that he was about to go to trial for, which, by the way, was going to be delayed anyway, the Supreme Court. And this other one's probably going to be overturned by the Supreme Court anyway. So he will no longer be a felon. Mm-hmm. They can't use that anymore. But they've tried to put him in jail, and that's what people are saying. They tried to do this. They tried to do this. Now they try to kill him. Okay, so we talked about the idea of the Republicans or Donald himself staging it. Now we're talking about his opponents staging it. Sadly for the Democrats, that seems more likely, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like Trump's going to stage it himself, right? It seems like we don't want this guy to win. We saw what Joe did at the debate. If you had to choose one side that staged it, I would think that the Democrats look more guilty because they're the opposition. You're going to go with some law and order shit on me, aren't you?
No, but I'm really thinking it would be because it only benefits Donald no matter what, right? The Republican Party.
That he missed.
That he missed, for one, but I think it also helps the Democratic Party. I think for whoever comes in and avenges Donald Trump after he goes, I just think it would help.
The Republic?
The next Republican that comes in avenges his death. We're going to take his ideas. We're going to push him along. Sure. So I just think it would be absolutely stupid for the Democrats to put that stuff together because whether they kill him or not, I just don't think it. I only think it benefits the Republicans.
I agree. I think the only reason, I don't think that they would do it for that reason. I think they would do it because they literally just hate him that much because he's going to blow up the establishment.
I can understand that.
He's gonna come in there and say, guess what, Obama's, guess what, Clinton's, you're not lining your pockets with government money anymore. I'm going to look out my window now and be careful of saying what I'm saying. But that's the conspiracy theory from that side is the Democrats are scared he's going to blow their system up.
Right. But I guess my point of it is the only group that stands to benefit in my eyes is Republicans. So why would the Democrats do that?
Just to get rid of them, and it's they're also desperate and they're in disarray. How about this idea, Trey? Stay in the Great podcast. Tell me if you agree, so we can go ahead and say this together. How about it was just some psycho kid that just got up on a thing and shot at Donald Trump? Secret Service was lazy, didn't think it would ever happen, and that's it. And both sides are trying to spin it. How about that?
Yeah, I think the real story is the Secret Service, the holes and everything. Yeah. I think that's the real story.
And it could be just complete incompetence. And I'm hoping for the sake of, it's disappointing, but I'm hoping for the sake of all this that's it, and it's not some
conspiracy theory.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine? And again, it's only been a couple days, and so you guys will hear this probably in just a few more days now that I have some help with editing, and hopefully by then maybe there's something that you'll know based on what we've said. But I think we've given you kind of everything. I can't think of anything else. I mean, like I said, the picture's iconic. It only helped him. The Democrats are in disarray. These are kind of my points from what happened. Donald's okay.
Would you want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation between Biden and Trump that night?
Yeah, and Joe, to his credit, said the right things. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Honestly, I'm not trying to be one of those people that's like, well, he's in it still. Credit to Joe. He called him. He called him by he called him Donald for the first time.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to talk with Donald and make sure he's okay. And and Joe said the right things. What's he going to do? Get up there and be like, this is okay. Hit him next time.
Yeah.
He got up there and he said, there's no place for this. This is bullshit. Everybody's saying it except for what I hate is a large amount of people, and I say large amount of people, but the percentages that I see on Twitter, X, Elon came right out after it and said, I'm endorsing Donald.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is
he's sending a lot of money his way too.
It's $45 million
a month, isn't it?
A month, and I said, well, I'm good for $45 a month. I'll join you.
I'd do 45 cents.
45. $45 right now, and we'll see. But I'll do what I can.
Was that because he was the 45th president?
I don't know. That's interesting.
Is there any symbolism there?
I don't know. That's some deep shit, Trey. Let's reach out to Elon. Have him on the show.
Yeah,
he could sit in the guest chair. But I'm seeing so many things that just it shocks me, and I've posted them, and it's just people saying, make America aim again, meaning aim better.
Wow.
People that and again, you expect it because people are assholes, and when you hide on a computer screen, it's easy to do. What I want to know here, and this will be kind of my butthurt comment of the week. There's this dude, and I don't want to plug him because he's got enough followers, and I don't know why, but and it's two brothers. This one in particular is named Ed Krastenstein.
With 3 E's and 2 I's.
Yeah, something. It is something. A couple of S's in there, and he, he sucks me in and into reposting, responding.
Gotcha.
To his posts.
That's what I assume.
Because and maybe that's why he's got so many followers, is because he has the ability to do that. And I get so mad, and I'm just like, dude, he's supposed to be a political analyst. He's supposed to be somebody with intelligence, knowledge, rationality, these things. And he sits there and he's going, hey, I just lost it. Where'd it go? But he's saying these same talking points is my point. I think it shot me back up to the top of his page. He's saying the same thing. He was a registered Republican. He had Trump signs in his yard.
Is this stuff proven?
Not true.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have Trump signs in his yard. I mean, he's basically just trying to say that this is a Republican. This is not one of us. But that's not. It's just so stupid. It's just like you're supposed to be this big analyst. So you get everybody saying these types of things, and it's just, I think the modern liberal has gone a little bit crazy, and I think that they were cheering it. I think that people are genuinely upset that the guy missed.
Oh, I'm sure there are people like that. Yeah,
and I know that there are people like that, and there would be people on the other side if it was Joe or Barack or in the day, and that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think it's equal. I really think that it's right now. That's why I can't align with it. I think that from what I've seen, anyway.
I guess, and to go back to your hey, this could be just a deranged kid. It didn't seem very calculated. It didn't seem very planned. It didn't seem. I mean, you get a 20-year-old kid that couldn't even make. I guess there's a rifle team in high school up there. Didn't you realize that?
Yeah. You mentioned that too.
Yeah, he didn't even make the rifle team in high school. So come on.
Well, we found out why.
This doesn't seem like a very calculated attempt at an assassination of the president. So
either side, you're exactly right. Either side, if they did have something to do with it, this was not done well.
I guarantee it wouldn't have been on a building 140 yards away. It would have been further. I mean, I've seen movies. They can shoot those guns a lot further.
Of course. And even there have been excuse me for pouring some wine, but there have been movies that have come out. I'm sorry. There have been snipers that have come out, like actual snipers that have come out and said, what's going on here? What was this? What was that? I mean, people are questioning it and going, former Secret Service. How did this happen? Sniper guys going, this guy was kind of aimed. And it's just, everybody's like, it's just this clusterfuck.
Disarray, yeah.
Of why, when, who, how, where, what. And we just need to be patient, I think. And hopefully maybe on the next show. By the way, on the next show, we're going to have a wonderful guest. And we won't even. All I'll say is she's from Australia. She's going to tell us some animal shit, but not a lot. But we're going to talk a lot about dating and romance and fun stuff between Australian men and American men. It's going to be a great show. She's fun, and so I wanted to take a break, and I think you're on board with that.
Taking a break
from some of the politics and all this stuff that's going on. Take a little breather and have some fun with her on the show. And she's great. So we'll have her on the next show. But I think we might have to mention, because something's going to come out soon.
I hope so.
That's
It
my
should
point.
be interesting. Yeah.
Something's going to come out, and we're going to have to mention it with her. And she doesn't. She's already making jokes. She's Australian, so we'll forgive her, I guess. But
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how these other countries feel about America right about now.
well, and again, I asked a few people that I know that I speak to regularly outside of the country, and they're just kind of like, first off, some of them hadn't even heard yet. When I asked, they were like, "Whoa!" And then they went and hit it. But this is not the United States. I mean, obviously, it happened to John F. Kennedy in 1963, and somebody had tried it with
Reagan in 81.
Reagan in 81, and other than that, but it's just like, come on. And if it was staged, and if it was something on one side, then we've gone too far, people, and this is getting insane.
Yes.
We need to calm down. I mean, this country's getting, it used to be a place where people just dreamed of being. People waited. I know people. I know multiple people. A guy from Bulgaria I know in Maine, he waited like 12 years going through landmines trying to get out of Bulgaria, and he was sent back and all these things just to get here. He did everything he could. He got here and he made a life for himself. And now I think he'd be like, try the landmines, and I don't mean to
Back to
laugh,
Bulgaria.
but Bulgaria, communist, it's not anymore, but I don't want to be laughed at. If we're laughed at, we want to be laughed at because we're making funny jokes, or because
Right.
Somebody in Florida or wherever jumped on an alligator or some shit.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about Trump's vice president pick. So in the middle of all this, or not in the middle of all this, but right after, he made his pick.
Mr. J.D. Vance.
Mr. J.D. Vance. You know what? I forget his full name. What's his full name? Do you remember?
J?
His parents were like,
D?
we can't come up with anything. How about J? Well, there is a J, J-A-Y. But anyway, Mr. J.D. Vance, he's a 39-year-old, Trey. He's going to be one of the youngest vice presidents. I forget if he's the youngest, but that's big.
Is that young?
That's pretty young. And so I think that's maybe one positive there.
He's only been in the Senate for, I think you said 2 years?
Yeah, a couple years. Ohio. And he was let me give you just a quick background. He was a Marine, and he did a stint in Afghanistan, or Iraq. I'm sorry, forgive me, J.D. Vance. I think it might have been Iraq for 6 months. And he went to Yale Law School.
Okay.
So something's working up top if he's at Yale Law School. And he wrote a book. He's a bestseller. He did his memoir about his rough life growing up in the Midwest, not the Midwest, the Rust Belt, which is mostly like.
What was the name of the book?
Damn it, Trey.
It was a funny name. I didn't know if you had it.
Yeah, I'll look it up as we talk.
Okay. When I heard his mom was a drug addict. I heard she was an alcoholic. I guess she's now been clean. What did he say in the interview, for 10 years now? That is, his grandmother took care of him. I mean, they even had the meals. Was it Meals on Wheels or something, delivering the food, and the grandmother would occasionally try to get more just so he would be able to eat and stuff like that. So yeah, it sounded like he grew up pretty rough.
It was tough. His book was called Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah.
And they did a movie about it.
Yeah, I heard about it. They did a movie.
And I'll go check it out just to see. But I mean, it neutral states. It's the Wisconsins, the Minnesota. Well, maybe not quite as far as Minnesota, but Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Indiana, Illinois, and all that area, the old Rust Belt. And I think that's maybe that's key. I don't know if that was strategic on Donald's part because those states are so important. But either way. He's a good dude. I mean, he's very much like Trump. And I think that's what a lot of people are going, why would you do that? Why would you not get somebody that maybe brings in a different, but he's younger. He's got maybe a little more articulate than Donald at times. He's a lawyer. So there are some things there that Donald doesn't possess. So maybe Donald's saying, hey, here's a guy that's like me, but kind of better at it. Mm-hmm. So
stays off Twitter or X.
Maybe. I haven't seen him on X yet. But what I wanted to mention about him were some of his policies, real quick,
Okay.
so that
I'm
can
curious to
tell
hear
me.
about this. Yes.
So with abortion, that's one of the biggest. Would you say?
I would say, yeah.
Issues in the country right now. Women are upset because their bodies are they're being told what to do with their bodies.
Right.
Women do whatever they want with their bodies, right? Completely pro-choice. Me, I think there are extenuating circumstances, and I want to stay in the gray and like figure out case by case. You brought up a great point on one of the last couple shows about how long that would take to prove incest, rape, all these things. And so Vance, I'll go ahead and start with this. He wants to ban, the only federal ban that he would ever want would be after 15 weeks. Not 6, 15.
Why that number?
I don't know. Denmark is at 12. Sweden is at 18. He's kind of using the model, and, I guess he looked biology, and he just said, hey, at that point, you should know, what would 15 weeks be? 3 months, 3 months and 3 weeks. I don't know. It seems like an odd number. I don't know why he chose that one, but that's a decent amount of time.
I would assume there's some kind of development milestone there.
Something there, and what was also interesting is that both Trump. Here's something people need to hear. Both Trump and Vance have come out and said this. I don't know how to say the damn word. Try to help. Mifepristone. It's the drug, the abortion pill.
Okay.
They will not block it.
So what's the difference in an abortion drug and having an abortion?
I don't know. I don't know if one of them you take and it's ineffective after a certain amount of time. So maybe if you take it, it's before the 15. I don't know. I need to look more into that. So but all I know is that I did this research right before the show.
Is it an abortion drug different than Plan B then too? Or is that something?
I think Plan B is just preventative. I don't think that's an actual abortion because nothing's been established.
Because it stops ovulation, I think, is what Plan B does.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know. I need to look more into this. But the big thing was that people were saying they even want to stop this. Well, they don't. They both have said it. There you go. He also believes in states' rights to do it, which is the whole point. I've said it. Trump said it. He said it. Believe it if you want or don't, whatever. But it makes sense. This country, social issues are supposed to be with the state. Women. He shares a little bit of Mr. Harrison Butker's stance because he has said, I think that women who stay at home are being told that it's wrong to stay home and be a wife and a mother and a homemaker. If you spend 90, he said something. His quote was that you're 90 hours in a cubicle. Why is that better? And people, of course, ran with it. I think, and you were mentioning something. You heard about him talking about women as well.
Oh, there was a misconception as far as him coming out saying in a family that a woman should stay with a man even in an abusive relationship.
That's it.
So
yeah, and that was, I think, a little bit misconstrued. I don't agree with that. If he really means that, like, no matter how abusive, stay. No.
Well, he even said in this little interview that he grew up, I think his dad was abusive. He alluded to it. He didn't go into details, but he's like, why would I want a woman to stay in an abusive relationship when I grew up in a home like that, with a family like that? So why would I want that to happen? So
what I think that I get out of what he said was that, don't look to run away from each other that quickly. If you have some struggles, don't just bail. He believes that the home, the makeup of a home with a father and a mother and the children,
especially when there's children involved,
it's important. And I think a lot of what he's claiming the problem with the far left is the family atmosphere. He believes that. He believes that it's a single parents and kids are not having the right role models, and that's his belief, and whatever. He may or may not be true, but that's what he's saying. He's not sitting there saying don't go to work, women. He's saying you can do both, like Harrison Butker did, but we won't get into that. I have too many other things. How about trans children? I'm with him. Note not only do I think he wants to block any taxpayer money to go to trans children surgeries.
That sounds fair.
Fuck yeah. I want to block trans children surgeries without taxpayer dollars. To me, I'm with that guy on that.
Absolutely.
Children,
yes.
As an adult, I still don't think tax dollars need to go to your transition. That's a whole separate issue. But you're welcome to chop your penis off or add one.
Did you hear about Elon moving two of his businesses, X, and I forgot what the other one is off the top of my head, because of a ruling in California about the schools are not required to report to a parent whenever a child decides they want to be known as either female or male, opposite of what they're.
I have not heard this.
Yeah. So that's
so
big thing.
Elon's out.
Elon's out. He's bringing everything to Texas, actually.
Yeah. I did not hear that. So wow. That guy Gavin Newsom out there, that governor, California, and I feel bad for the Californians that are dealing with it because their states just turn into shit.
So let me ask you this, though. A little twist on it. What if the parents are abusive about it? I mean, there's circumstances, right? Just like with abortion, there's always going to be circumstances.
What do you mean they're abusive about it?
So, I mean, I don't feel like you would be like this, but one of your boys comes in and says, "You know what, Dad? Inside, I feel like I'm a woman."
I'm sorry, they're 2 and 4, so I'm picturing this.
Right, exactly.
I don't mean to laugh, but
exactly. But imagine, a dad being upset, whoops the shit out of him, whatever. The kid knows.
You're saying he capital punishment for that, like kid says it and he beats him.
Whoops his ass. Grabs a belt, just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So the son can't come out to his dad, obviously. So then he comes out to school, and says, "Hey, I can't say this around my dad, but this is the way I feel.
Right.
Can you help me feel like this while I'm at least here?" The school technically doesn't have to tell the parents, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know your son would prefer to be called a she while they're at school."
Man, that's tough.
So,
it's tough because extenuating circumstances, and it's just like, how do you know? I mean, if the kid says the dad was abusive, is he really? Just because the kid says so, what's abuse? Where's the line?
So
that's
I guess
interesting.
I want to look into it a little bit further to find out why they felt the need to pass this ruling along to where schools don't have to report that. That's where I want to figure out why.
Let's start looking more into our stories.
I just found out about that on the way over here.
I didn't know that. So that's something we'll look at, people, and hopefully by the next show we'll know something more about it.
Maybe.
But wall, he thinks we need, and the only reason I'm saying this is just because of, I'll tell you, he thinks that we need $3 billion to finish the wall at the border.
$3 billion?
$3 billion.
Okay.
We've given over $100 billion to Ukraine, so doesn't seem like that should be too much of a difficulty. I just had to get that shot in there to Ukraine. Speaking of that, his stance on Ukraine is he's a critic of all this military aid. His biggest deal is Biden's not explaining what the fuck this money's going towards. It's just, here you go. You don't need an itemization from Zelensky, but you need something. I mean, you're giving him, this is quite a bit of money.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Did you? I don't want to ruin your flow.
No.
But it has to do with the Ukraine.
I don't flow.
Well, I was listening to this interview on the way over here, and he made reference that if Trump had been in office, that war would have never happened. How is he so confident that?
Who said that?
That's what J.D. Vance was saying.
Oh, Vance.
He said if Trump was in office, that war would have never happened. Why? I mean,
I just think that Trump and Putin, and this is Trump's opposition will say, "Oh, they're buddies." No, they're not. They have diplomatic relations. They're able to communicate. And Trump would say, "Hey, this is not a good idea because we might have to get involved." I just think that Putin took advantage of it because he doesn't do anything. Biden's giving him a bunch of money. He's not sending troops. I think Donald would be like, "Dude, if you do this."
So I guess which one would be worse?
We'll be
sending troops or sending money?
Well, worse in what way? I mean, obviously sending troops is worse, but the threat itself might have prevented it.
Might have.
Do you know what I mean? I just think that and I know this sounds silly, and people are going to be like, well, Putin has respect for Donald Trump to a point. Yes, technically the United States and Russia aren't friends. We're closer to enemies than friends. But if you play the silent treatment and you're old and you just constantly bend over and all you're doing is giving money to his enemy, of course Putin's going to be like, well, screw America. We're going to do this. And they haven't done anything. I mean, it's not like they've taken over Ukraine.
Right.
So I don't know. Vance thinks that Ukraine, and I don't know if I agree with this, is going to have to just go ahead and
let them have it.
Well, not just a little bit. Just here you go, take some of it back, and just let's be done with this. And that's what Russia wants. So, but the other thing about it was he thinks the Ukraine leaders, and I don't disagree, are pocketing a lot of this. You're seeing the leaders with Lamborghinis and live in luxury.
No shit.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that.
Pictures and videos have proven that. Don't tell me I'm wrong because I've seen them, and don't tell me they're. That's kind of the defense mechanism. Well, that was Photoshop. That was
AI.
AI. Come on, that's the new one. AI. That was AI. No, it's kind of so that's Vance is just being real. He's like, look, this is a lot of money. This isn't just like some aid.
Right.
This is like some countries don't even have this money.
Yeah.
And so that's his on Ukraine. How do you feel about this, real quick? We're kind of getting on time. He wants English to be introduced to be the official language of the United States. Because technically, it's not at this moment.
I didn't realize it wasn't.
No, it's supposed to be a land of the, every religion, everything. So there's no language. English is predominant. And in fact, English is now the world predominant. We talked about that back in like episode.
Well, I mean, 12. Obviously for us, that would be super easy, but I don't understand how he'd be able to enforce that.
Well, it's just something to call it. It's not saying you can't speak something else here. It's just basically saying this is.
Just to say it's the official language.
If somebody comes here from somewhere else and you can now say, speak our language if you want to come here. And right now, technically, if you say that, you're kind of wrong a little bit because there is no official language.
See, that's what I don't understand. How somebody, like, I can't imagine moving to Paris and deciding, you know what, I'm going to open a business. I don't know any French, but
yeah,
damn it, I'm going to be successful there.
Yeah.
How does that make sense to somebody coming over here? I don't
get
it.
Well, because France they got their own issues, as we've talked about. The Rhine, the Seine River is filled with shit, probably.
Yeah.
But they run things. They do things differently. They do it in a different way, and you come here and you get this kind of respect, and everybody's worried about offending you. You come here as a Muslim, or you come here as somebody from South America or Eastern Europe, and they open up a small business, and it's just like, oh, this is great, which it is. It's great.
Yep.
But we shouldn't have to cater to it. Don't hold back your opinions and your values and your religion for theirs.
And I would say I would think it would hold the business back too, because if they can't cater to, like, if we went into a Russian store, for instance, I can't speak Russian. Well, I'm probably not going to go in there if nobody can help me out. So that just, what percentage of people do you automatically discard at that point?
Well, sure.
So, I mean,
well, and and maybe it's because when you come to a certain spot, there are enough of those people, they believe that, well, I don't know. I mean, there are, I don't want to stereotype, but I will, because that's what we do here. But, you go to a gas station and these hardworking guys, and there's one nearby, and I'll go ahead and I won't say the name of the state, nearby me. And in there is, I think it's a family, and they I believe they're Indian. They could very well be Middle Eastern, but you know what? I'll admit it. Americans are really bad at that when
Yeah.
it comes to Asian and dividing that, and then Middle Eastern versus Indian. And they open up a business, and they learn the language well enough. That's it. Learn it well enough if you come here, and that if you went to France and wanted to open a business, I guarantee you'd be smart to learn enough French.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, and so that's what Vance is saying. Well, right now you come here and it's like, well, why do I have to learn English? Because I can speak whatever, and it may not be beneficial for the business, but anyway, it was a quick little tidbit. I didn't mean to get off on that.
Do you know if by chance, if you have to learn English in order to get like a green card?
No, I don't think that's part of it. I think he just wants to make it.
Well, I'm just saying in general,
language.
do you have to know English to get a green card?
Think so.
No?
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe a work visa, you can come over here.
If anybody knows the answer to that, let us know. I don't want to be incorrect.
Because I don't know all the forms and all that bullshit you
apologize.
have to go through to get a green card. But, work visa, maybe not. But a green card, I would assume.
Maybe.
That's just like having citizenship.
Yeah, you have to go through the course and all the history and all that.
Did you know a green card is actually green?
Fun fact from Trey. I did not.
I didn't either.
I mean, I think that makes sense.
It's kind of a lazy name for it. It's just a green card.
But look, they're not writers. They're not original people. The people.
I was a little disappointed when I
the
found
people in
out.
the back offices that are doing that are like, just call it a green card. It's
green,
Let's go
and
home.
let's roll.
I'm going on break.
Yeah. I don't care, Bertha. We're just calling it a green card.
So his issue on, I keep hitting this, I apologize. His issue on NATO, which is a big one, he doesn't want to pull out of it completely because I'm waiting on a pull-out joke. Didn't happen. Wow, you are maturing, Mike.
Hey, I was ready to come back with something intelligent.
Yeah, there we go. No, he doesn't want to pull out of NATO completely, which Donald is kind of hinted that he wants to. But he also says that other countries aren't spending enough, and we are being taken advantage of financially, and that's why I'm on board with Donald on a lot of things financial. We're not going to walk into NATO, be bent over, and pay for everything. These countries aren't. You say you wanted to have an intelligent response, or no? Not for this one.
No, but that makes sense.
So that's NATO.
Well, yeah.
And that makes sense. We want to stay there, but we're not.
Because do we get any more for spending more money?
Fuck no.
Then why are we spending more money?
That's that's the point on so many things. That was the point with the Paris Accord with the climate.
Do we get the big office? Did
Did we get
corner?
the best seat
Yeah.
in the convention?
Biggest refrigerator?
Yeah. He's an Israel supporter. He thinks it's okay to give them aid in this situation. I don't even want to get into that. He supports Israel. So if you are Palestinian, you probably won't be voting that way. The last one, and then we'll get to one last quick thing. He doesn't want to cut anything, and people believe that Donald wants to do this. He wants to cut Medicaid. He wants to revise and repeal Obamacare. He wants to. So Vance is saying he doesn't necessarily want to do those things. He wants to improve them. The big one is universal health care for pregnant women. He wants that. And it's probably to prevent abortions. He wants to create an environment that's more comfortable, that's safe, that's for women who might otherwise want to abort. That's what I think that is. So he doesn't necessarily want to cut. So these are all things that Project 2025, all these things that Vance is saying, not all of them, but most of them, and Trump, Project 2025 get over it, people. That is not going to be implemented by these two if they are elected. Lastly, this will be the fun part, and then we'll end the show.
This better be fun.
Well, it's fun because it happens all the time, but they're really focusing on it now. The opponents of Trump and Vance. Vance had some things to say about Donald.
Oh yeah.
In the past,
2016.
2016, Trump's policies are immoral and absurd. He's a cultural heroin, like not a heroin, like a drug heroin. He's the opioid.
What was that?
Let me try that again.
You got excited on that one.
He's the opioid of the masses. Doesn't sound very nice. He's reprehensible. He voted independent in 2016 just because. He couldn't vote Democrat. He couldn't lead himself
Didn't
to do
you call
that.
him a Nazi too?
He called them all that. He called them everything. I was just doing a few. And everybody goes, whoa. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody knows this. Our vice president called our president
A racist.
a racist,
Yeah.
which we've proven he actually is. And they got, all of a sudden they came together and everything was fine.
Kumbaya.
The difference now is that in 2018, he started being quoted as he changed his tune. He said, I'm seeing some good things from Donald. I was wrong. He said, I was wrong. And by 2020, when Donald ran again, he said, Donald did such a great job, especially the pandemic hit him and it was just a mess. And he was in, and he felt like this was not the guy that I thought he was when I said all these things. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I've known people before, and I'm like, oh, actually, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
People are saying it just because he wanted to be vice president. Well, no, this happened a long time ago when he changed his tune. That's been proven. The last thing is he's married to Usha Tukari. So if anybody wants to sit here and call him some sort of racist or white whatever,
It's just a strong Kentucky name.
he northern region.
Ish.
She's Hindu.
Oh, I was way off.
Which in Hindu, I think, is India, one of those places over there.
I think that was Hindu
But the
for
point
love
is,
flower.
you can't call this guy racist. He's married to a fucking girl named Usha Kuchuri,
Yeah.
right? That's my argument.
Glad you weren't stroking there. Wow.
If somebody looks at me and says Vance is a racist, I'll be like, Usha Kuchuri.
Sure.
So that was my last thing on Vance. So that's the vice president. Who I think will be the vice president, but he's the vice president choice for Donald Trump in the election. What do you think?
So far in the interview, he sounds pretty articulate. Yeah. He's
Smart. I mean, smart guy.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with everything he says, but he is a smart guy, and Yale Law and all these things. I mean, that's what everybody said about Obama. He went to, I forget where he went, but he went Ivy League and this and that. So Donald picked a guy that has the intelligence and has the, look, he's a Marine. You can't disrespect that. And
I guess where was this guy to try to run against Trump? Did he come out and throw his hat in the ring? Or I've never heard his name yet. So
I don't think he did. I think I could be wrong. So I'm going to look that up.
You're right. In the Senate,
You're right. I could look it up.
Put your name in the ring to go for
I
president.
think he did some really good things in Ohio, and I think that caught Trump's attention. He's very focused on some organizations in the Rust Belt when it comes to the working class, the blue collar. Again, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all these Rust Belt, hard-working middle class.
Gotcha.
Factories. Back in the day, it was the steel mills in Pittsburgh,
Right.
all these things. And I think that caught Trump's attention because of his devotion there. And other things. I mean, you're going, hey, this guy shares a lot of my core values. We're not extreme on a lot of things. They've both been willing to talk about abortion not being cut and dry. They've both been willing to talk about a lot of things. So I think that...
And he's young, too.
He's young. Let's get a young guy in there. And I think that it was a good pick. I wanted Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm going to say that in case she somehow hears this. She was my
Where's
pick.
she from?
She was a Hawaiian... I think she was the governor down there. Maybe it's just the senator. No, she was governor. She was Democrat. And so she left the party because of how crazy they've gotten. So I thought that might have been an interesting pick because she could go, hey, I've been there and they're insane.
Gotcha.
And she was kind of hot. She has a, you remember when Sarah Palin kind of had that like,
Yeah.
whatever. And I think Tulsi's even better. So
Interesting. Okay.
good for Tulsi. We wanted to give her a shout out. Come on the show.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it. I thought, I'm proud of you and I'm proud of me because we took this show and I think we do what we say we want to do, which is talk about it like normal people. I didn't sit here and yell at anybody. We didn't, as much as I wanted to. We didn't go crazy one way or the other. We just gave you kind of the facts and what both sides are saying.
Right.
Let's see what happens. I want to know what's on that kid's phone. I want to know I just, there's so much. I want to know what the Secret Service issue it was and all that. And so hopefully we'll have something to talk about. But next show we'll have Liv on, unless she bails for whatever reason. But that'll be a great show. Please tune in. If you want to hear funny and good, I have a feeling these two, Trey and Liv, will entertain you with a lot of their shtick. So I'm going to leave you with a quote, and then we'll roll out of here. This one, pretty basic, nothing too serious, but it makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, you excite me with these.
Well, no, I think the last one was depressing as fuck, but this one is what it is, and I like it. I like it, and I think it's because in my life I've made some mistakes, and they've kind of come to fruition in the last couple of months.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. So a mistake should be your teacher, not your attacker. A mistake is a lesson, not a loss. Mm-hmm. It is temporary. It is a temporary, necessary detour, not a dead end.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah, that hits home for me too.
It hit home for me, and so I went with it. And I think hopefully it helps some of anybody else that may be listening at this point. Yeah. So we'll see you guys on the next show, and be safe. Love you.
Later.
Here, just the facts and the fair. We look at both sides, do our best to compare. In this podcast realm where we compromise, balance is key and the facts don't lie. Stay in the great where perspectives intertwine. We seek the truth in the gray we define. In this podcast journey, minds open wide. Shades the truth on this impartial ride.
I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to the Butthurt Comments after this show.
I've got you beat. Just in the last 3 minutes, if I wasn't married, how about Tulsi Gabbard and Sarah Palin together? Together with me.
I'll have to see a picture of this person.
But it would be like this political threesome, like hard. Good night, everybody. We love you. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.
God, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this one. Watch this be the one she listens to. Bye, guys.